Hi there. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with MM. This is Marivir Montebon here in New York City. How are you and how are you celebrating the holidays? Hope everybody's doing well and keeping warm and healthy. So today I am going to rerun my conversation with cybersecurity lawyer Anna Mercado Clark because of popular demand. And I had to just emphasize it. I couldn't emphasize it enough. Her message of the need for cybersecurity awareness as well as knowing your rights. And speaking of rights, tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, it will be the third of a series of the forum. Let me see. Hold on. This one here. It's going to happen tomorrow, the Know Your Immigrant Rights Forum, which is sponsored by the FALDEF, Filipino American Legal Defense and Education Fund, also by my nonprofit WeCafe, also by FALA, NAFA, and CACF. This is tomorrow, December 14, Saturday at 1 p.m. at the Gotham West Market. It's on 611th Avenue, New York City. So our speakers are Catlea Bobis Esquire and JT Malyonga Esquire. They will talk about employment, family, and student-based immigration. So go there. It's a free event, so you will learn more on this topic on immigration. Okay, and I will be hosting it. Oh, maybe you have noticed I only have one pair of earring. I lost the other pair of this wonderful crucifix. It's emerald green, and I really love this, but I couldn't find the other pair, but I just decided to wear it today for the sake of enjoying it, even if it's already by itself. Nawala na ang pair. Okay, so our guest for today is Anna Mercado Clark, a cybersecurity attorney and partner at Phillips Lytle in New York City. She is the immediate past president of NAPABA, or the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association, serving in 2023. NAPABA is the U.S. largest Asian Pacific American membership organization, representing the interests of 80,000 attorneys, judges, law professors, and law students. So in this conversation, Anna speaks of her projects at NAPABA, the challenges of crafting cybersecurity laws, her family, and she pays tribute to her mom, Luz Mercado, a Filipino retired nurse who has raised her family with hard work and love. So this is one of the lovely conversations I've had this year. So take a listen. Hello, Anna. Thank you for joining us with Conversations with MM today. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for having me in your wonderful place here in New York Times building.
You're welcome anytime.
Amazing place. Tell us, oh, by the way, congratulations, because you just recently finished your leadership stint with NAPABA. Do you have anything to share on those wonderful memories and the projects that have been achieved in your leadership?
I'm still trying to process the experience. I'm on the board for another year as immediate past president, but it's just been so rewarding. So just for people who might not know what NAPABA is, it's the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association.
Yes.
It's the umbrella organization for about 90 affiliates around the country, other bar associations around the country. We also have two affiliates in Canada, and Guam most recently joined us. So in terms of projects, D&I projects and initiatives have been under attack, especially after the Harvard decision from the Supreme Court. And so we spent a lot of time trying to grapple with that. And I established a working group in order to be able to advise both NAPABA and our members and the organizations to which our members belong on how best to manage and be compliant with their D&I programs post the SFFA decision.
So how is it so far? Like,
It's an ongoing challenge, I think, especially, given that we're changing administrations after the most recent federal election. So we'll have to see how that plays out and how that shapes up. But one thing's for sure, all of these developments reinforce for me the importance of organizations like NAPABA that are dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of the other things during my term that we did was we worked hand in hand with a lot of our sister bar associations. For example, the National LGBTQ Bar, the National Hispanic Bar, the National Native American Bar, the National Bar Association, and the ABA. And, we actually issued a joint letter that was featured in Law 360 calling for the continued commitment to diversity by various organizations. So, the time is not now to dismantle these programs. In fact, we should double down and invest in these programs.
Do you think that the new administration would not be so supportive of it?
I'm not sure, but anytime there's a change in administration, there's always an adjustment period, right? You have to wait to see how the leaders that they put in place react and implement the administration's programs. And so, we're going to undergo a transition period, and we'll have to see how that turns out.
Great. So you told me like you're still processing the 1-year experience. Could you tell us what were the highlights or the good stuff that happened to you in terms of profession and personal relationships in the organization? I'm sure it's helpful.
Yeah. So, I was president-elect for a year, and I helped manage. We have a full staff that organizes our annual conventions, but our convention was held in Indianapolis during my president-elect year. And then I spent a year as president. And, what's most special to me are the friendships that I formed along the way. I probably traveled the most out of any president of NAPABA. I started my term talking about showing up for people. So there was a little bit of there were some members of our organization that did not want us to host our convention in Indianapolis because Indiana had passed laws that restricted access to reproductive health care, as well as limiting the ability of transgender students to participate in girls' high school sports. And what was really great about that, even though it was challenging, was we had some really good, tough, but really good conversations with different stakeholders of our organization. And we had a lot of conversations about people on the ground who live in these jurisdictions where these laws are being passed.
And it's good that you went there.
I think so. We respected the decisions of people who did not feel comfortable coming. But we thought it was important for our membership to know that we will show up for them where they live and where they work. And so throughout my term, I tried my best to show up for our affiliates and for our partners, and because they did that for me in Indianapolis. And even to this day, it's really lovely to get notes and just kind words from people I met along the way about how much they appreciated NAPABA showing up for them. And that means the world to me.
Of course. So you're like a natural leader as I look at it.
I don't know about natural. I don't think anyone comes into these roles knowing everything. And so the other thing that I would say is special about my journey is the growth that I've experienced throughout. It just so happened that around the same time I was starting my term, I also got elected to my firm's governing committee.
So a lot of job.
Yes.
Your hands are full.
Yes. But also it's a lot of leadership roles that really, it was both roles are very challenging. But I learned so much in how to manage crises and how to manage difficult situations.
Tell me about your legal practice. What do you specialize in?
So I specialize in data security and privacy, e-discovery, digital forensics, and also cryptocurrency and blockchain. Those are the practice teams that I lead at Phillips Lytle. And I've been in this space since about 2011 when I joined the firm. After I graduated law school, I first started out my career as a criminal prosecutor. And then I went into civil litigation, and then I came to this law firm. And it's been such an interesting practice area because I started practicing it actually at a time, and the firm started practicing it at a time when data security and privacy was not a formally recognized area of practice. And so, it evolves as technology evolves and the laws evolve along with it. So I tell people all the time that I spent part of my time, most of my time, not most, but a lot of my time learning about technology and the evolution of laws and regulations. I spend as much time on that as I do actually practicing the law and providing guidance to my clients.
Yeah, that really kind of strikes me, because cybersecurity is important. And especially with digital manipulation, people are like saying that like it's common term already. But what about the legal measures that are being put in place? Are you working on it? Is your company working on it, or the NAPABA is working on this, on, for example, digital manipulation, especially during elections? Because like I would like to quote Maria Ressa, the Filipina Nobel laureate, who said that the digital manipulation has created the rise of dictators. Sorry to say, it's sad, but what about the sector, the legal sector? Are you up to the times of putting up the challenge?
Yeah, so I work with I'm in a few different working groups, and I work with a lot of legal professionals, judges, and other legal professionals. I also actually chair a couple of different science and technology committees at the American Bar Association. And so the American Bar Association has been very active in this space, and they have sought to provide guidance to lawyers and judges on artificial intelligence, generative AI, and reminding them of their ethical and professional obligations when it comes to these types of technology. Interestingly, the law, not surprisingly, has to catch up with the technology, right?
Yeah, everybody.
Exactly. So AI as a concept has been around since the 1950s, but generative AI has kind of been in the modern lexicon only in the last 3 or 4 years. I myself have been doing work in this space around that time period. So the regulations are not, have not yet caught up. I will point I'll highlight a couple of things for you. So at the outset, the first things that we saw were judges and courts issuing specific orders, providing guidance to litigants who appear before them about disclosure and the use of AI. So some courts decided to ban it altogether. Some courts decided, well, we can't ban it, but we will require disclosure of the kind of technology that you're using, the prompts that you're employing, and the results. And we will require you to keep records of all of those things for a certain amount of time. In the recent year, actually, we've seen a rise in legislation. In California alone, about 38 laws were presented to the governor for signature.
Okay.
When I last checked in October, he had signed about a dozen of them into law. There are about 20 states with election-related AI laws, but most of those laws focus on disclosure. They require entities, candidates, other individuals and groups to disclose the use of AI when they're manipulating the actual image or voice or video footage of an individual, particularly if it's a candidate. But those laws also focus on a particular time period around elections. So oftentimes it's 120 days to 90 days prior to the election, up to 60 days after the election.
I see.
There are 2 states which prohibit them expressly. I believe it's Minnesota and Texas. So that's been interesting. And those laws.
Is that good?
I think those laws, I think as with any technology, it's hard for me to say whether a law is going to be good or not, because a law is only as good as its enforcement, how it's enforced, and the details, right? The devil is always in the details. So on the one hand, I think these laws have to balance the right of individuals to free speech, the goal of U.S. Laws and governments to promote creativity and to promote creation of new works, right? New intellectual property. While on the other hand, balancing that against the potential harm and the potential for misinformation. So we can't assume that the use of these technologies will always be for disinformation or misinformation. There are some legitimate uses. In fact, there are some examples of AI work product that was put out to show the dangers of AI. But of course, in some circumstances, that work product can be distorted. And then it's presented as reality as opposed to an example of what could happen if you misuse it. Some of those laws can result in criminal penalties and some civil penalties or fines. So it really runs the gamut. In New Hampshire, interestingly, during the elections, I want to say it was during the primaries, there was a political consultant that generated a video of, I can't recall if it's a video or if it's just a robocall, but essentially using Joe Biden's likeness and instructing voters not to vote, instructing Democrats not to vote. And that person has actually been indicted because of the potential harm, of course, and the interference with the election. Not based on the studies that we're seeing so far. Time Magazine just put out an article about this. There's not been widespread, at least trackable impact on the election outcome using AI. But I suspect as time goes on, people will use it much more convincingly. They will find case uses for it that are going to be much more dangerous. So I think it remains to be
determine. Are there many lawyers who are like into your field right now, like into this cybersecurity?
There are more of us than when I started. I think that's right. And I always encourage law students to consider exploring a career in data security and privacy, AI, technology law. But there are more of us than when I started. But of course, depending on when these individuals entered the practice, the level of experience and expertise will vary.
That's really like super high tech of you to be engaged in, right? So, but you find this very personally challenging and exciting?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I majored in biology in college. I thought like everybody, like all other Filipinos, that I was going to become a doctor, a physician. But I'm glad that I landed in a space that is science adjacent.
It's like tech, and then you're into biology. Where did you study, by the way?
I went to school at Fordham, and I actually teach 2 law school classes
right now
at Fordham now as well.
Oh, nice. I was about to ask if you were teaching as well. Oh, and so you are. Great. So you're teaching cybersecurity stuff?
Yes. One of my classes is devoted to data privacy and security. I co-developed it with a colleague of mine. And then another class focuses on soft skills. So interviewing witnesses, negotiating, oral presentations, you know, those skills that are not always focused on in your typical and traditional law school classes.
It's really like so alien to me, this subject, you know, it's like being in France.
But that's for most people. Right? That's why
we need to be more informed about this, because like we are wrapped by this, by the technology now.
Yes, it's everywhere you turn.
Great. So were you born in the US, or I know your parents are Filipinos, but you're US born?
So I was born in the Philippines, actually. I went to the University of the Philippines Integrated School for elementary school. I moved here when I was in 6th grade. And I moved to New Jersey. My mother was a nurse. She's retired now, but she's one of the, you know, the crop of nurses that was recruited during the shortage. Exactly.
This was what
year? In the 80s.
80s.
Yes.
So you lived in New Jersey?
I did. And I went to college in New Jersey. I went to school at Rutgers in New Brunswick. And I was actually the president of the Rutgers Association of Filipino Students.
Oh my. So you were like up there already, leader?
You know, I think I have a genuine interest in getting to know people and meeting people and trying to solve problems that people raise. I'm always of this mind that if I'm going to complain about something, I'm going to try to fix it. And if I can't fix it or don't fix it, then I have no right to complain about it. And if you have that kind of mentality, I find that you're often volunteered for these leadership positions, and you find yourself in these leadership positions just naturally, you know.
Now, talking of that leadership with NAPABA, you were elected. So is that something that you have to be really known and popular? Did you campaign?
I campaigned, absolutely. But you don't necessarily have to be popular. I served on the board for many years before I became president. And by virtue of that service, I got to know the organization really well. And I like to think that I met people along the way who were supportive of my candidacy. So I ran unopposed, actually, but I still decided to campaign because I wanted to make sure that the membership knew who I was. And I wanted to understand what their concerns were and what they wanted to see out of NAPABA, so that if I did end up with a role and when I entered the role, I was in a position to hit the ground running and try to serve our members in the best way I can.
Wonderful. So tell me about your family.
So I have a 10-year-old son, and my husband is also an attorney. He's an executive ADA at the Queen's DA's office. And I'm looking forward to spending some time with them. I've been spending a lot of time on NAPABA and my other roles at the law firm.
Yeah.
My husband has been on. I was telling you before we began this conversation that my husband just finished a homicide trial. And so we've both been very busy. And so we're looking forward to some family time and hopefully getting some time to relax and reflect on the last year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as with any other Filipino family, I'm very close to my mom.
And what's her name?
Luz.
Luz. Okay.
Luz Mercado. I'm very close to her and my siblings. I have a younger brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
And
so you're the eldest.
I am. I do have siblings on my dad's side that we're also close to, but I don't see them as often because they're in the Philippines. But I look forward to seeing my younger siblings. It's always such a great time when we're together. We laugh a lot.
Fun, right?
Yes. We think we're so funny. And sometimes I wonder if we're really funny or we just think we're funny because we have the same sense of humor. But regardless, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the extended family.
Who do you look up to as a leader or somebody who mentored you to be who you are?
There's so many people. I believe in circle mentoring, which is kind of this idea that you're not just mentored by people who are older than you or more experienced than you, that you can learn as much from the newer, up and coming generations and lawyers. And so I consider every person who is in my circle to be a mentor of mine. And I've been so fortunate. I was at NAPABA, the NAPABA convention, and one of my mentees at the law firm, she's a Filipino lawyer, Paula Plaza, really excellent superstar. She came up to me and made a comment about my circle of female friends because she had seen us interact during NAPABA and even before NAPABA. And it made me pause because I am fortunate to have such a strong group of intelligent and accomplished women around me. But what sets them apart is that they're so giving and generous of their time, of their support. And we always amplify each other. So in fact, the way that we met is because a good friend of mine, Lacelle Corbador, had some great things to say about you. And I know that she wanted us to meet. And that's an example of...
Lacelle is amazing.
Amazing. I'm so grateful to be in her orbit and be her friend. But that's just an example of, a woman who shares the spotlight. I know you had featured her before and wanting to uplift other women along with them. So I'm just so grateful for all the women that are in that circle.
Great. So I would like to touch on the heritage, Filipino heritage. Is it useful? Are you mindful of it? Do you know that you navigate using Filipino values or it's more really human values?
I think it's important to know where you came from and have a very clear sense of self, especially if you're going to be in leadership positions, because your actions and your thought process and your decisions are going to be challenged all the time. And while you want to keep an open mind, you always want to have a very clear core as to what is your moral compass. What do you think is the right thing to do in a situation? And that is so informed by where you came from and how you grew up. As I've gotten older, it's interesting because when you first move to this country, everyone tells you to assimilate. That's the goal, to be as American as possible, to have the accent, to use the same words, to dress the same way. And that was a real struggle for me. As a student of UP is such a nationalistic school, right? Our mode, primary language of instruction changed when I was in third grade to Tagalog instead of English, even though we had no textbooks. My dad was a product of the UP medical school, and he passed away when I was in college. And so that was so ingrained in me. So it was a challenge when I was told then I had to assimilate when I came here.
What did you do?
I tried to learn the culture. I watched a lot of television and I tried to, there are certain things, ways that you pronounce words in the Philippines.
Different.
Certain idioms that you don't understand and you don't use.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn all of that, right? Like pocketbook in the Philippines, that's a book, right? That's a romance novel is what it is. And rubber shoes. It's sneakers, right? So learning all those little nuances. And then when people would reference a pop culture, make a pop culture reference in movies or books
Mm-hmm.
or songs that I didn't understand, I would actually affirm.
So you
go
made
out
the
and
effort.
learn.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
But you were in grade 6, so that's like 12.
Yes. But
Uh-huh.
even then, I was already very conscious
Uh-huh.
that this was an entirely different environment. As I've gone older, though, I have become more comfortable in who I am in my
Mhm.
culture.
Yeah.
And not only am I comfortable in it, I embrace it and I showcase it as often
Mhm.
as I can. So if you look at anytime I'm interviewed, anytime I'm speaking on a panel,
Yeah.
anytime I do TV interviews, or even when I make speeches,
Mhm.
when I was president of NAPABA, I make an effort to dress in our traditional wear and to showcase the work of Filipino designers from the Philippines. And it's such a joy now to see more people, at least in NAPABA, as the years have gone by, more and more people are embracing
Yes.
their own expression of culture. And it's so lovely to just be surrounded by that. And I thought this was going to be a podcast recording, full mea culpa. And I know we
Yeah,
were going to be in
it's
video.
alright.
I would have worn a terno today.
It's
But
okay.
it's a
It's a
very,
work day.
yes. But even for work, I actually,
Yeah.
it's my everyday wear.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh, wow.
I make it.
So you're like promoting it in the on the daily basis.
Exactly. It's not just reserved for special occasions because it sparks such interesting conversations.
Yes, yes.
And people who know nothing about Filipino culture will stop me on the street and we'll have a nice conversation about what I'm wearing that leads to other conversations, right?
Yeah, they would like touch the cloth, and like, oh, this is unique and all that.
Yeah.
Did your mother have an influence on you on this? Like, just being the Filipino that you have,
Yeah.
you are.
So my mom had a significant influence on me as a
Uh-huh.
woman, as a person, as a leader. If you ask me if I had anyone that I look up to, my mom, I know it might sound like the common immigrant story, but to see it firsthand is something really special. She
Yeah.
came to this country with $50 in her pocket.
Aw.
She knew no one
Uh-huh.
in this country. She used to work in the fields in Batangas where she came from.
Uh-huh.
And she would look up, she would tell us the story of looking up in the sky
Uh-huh.
and looking at the planes pass by. And she would say, one day I'll ride that plane. I will go places.
Uh-huh.
And she, armed with nothing except her skill and her resolve,
Mhm.
she was able to accomplish so much, bring us all over here, establish a really good life for us, and continues to do that and show us so much love.
Mhm.
And actually, now that she's gotten older, she's even more reflective and she apologizes for things that she recognizes were weaknesses in her parenting.
Mm.
And
How
that
nice of her.
speaks to kind of the type of person she is and how she's evolved and continues to evolve even now as a person. And so I'd like to think that I continue to evolve and I will continue to evolve till the end of my days. And I'm fortunate to have her as my role model.
Amazing. You're so blessed, to have a mom like that. So salute to your mom who's like, yeah, I see stories like that, like moms who are nurses at the same time. And you know how hard it is to be working in the hospitals and raising children. Oh,
And be
gosh.
separated from your children, right? Because she
Yeah.
moved here actually on her own first.
Okay. For
And
how long?
so-
For how many years were you separated?
Ooh, for a very long, I'd like to say 5 or 6 years.
Oh, that's a lot of years.
Yes.
So
and
were
during
you-
my formative years. So
Yeah.
it's tough.
Did you have a gap? Did you have to know each other again?
I think there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But, my family is just so full of love. And so even in moments where it was tough, we always knew that there was love there. And so
Yeah.
that makes it, easier to manage those rough patches.
Wonderful. So all the best to you in your in the coming days of work and more leadership roles. So thank you so much, Anna, for this time.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
this wonderful
you.
interview. There you go. That was cybersecurity lawyer Anna Mercado Clark. It was an upbeat conversation in her office at the Phillips and Lytle LLP, right in Times Square at the New York Times building. So thank you so much, Anna. I am just restreaming it because it's such an important message to be put across over and over again. So I hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. So since it's the holiday season, I'd like to leave you with this nice rendition of Oh Holy Night by our very own Filipino talent as well, a doctor of physical therapy. He just performed at the Pasko in America, which was last Saturday. So I leave you with his music and enjoy the holidays. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pasco and America here in American Dream. What an honor to be here. Let all us